Hello, hello. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday. I finally got around to making my build video. So we're going to talk a little bit about painting, and we're also going to show off the parts and what I used to make the build for Ryzen. So let's get to it. So as far as painting, this is actually the product that I use right here. It's just a simple Krylon paint and primer together. You can use primer by itself. You can feel free to use as much prep as you want if you want maybe a more permanent paint. But the process I use is pretty simple. You can get, like I said, into more of the process if you really want to. If you want to use a separate primer, if you want to scuff up your parts. But so specifically for my video card, I have another video I posted about how to disassemble this video card, and of course for your video card it's going to be slightly different, but they're all mostly the same the way they come apart. But what I used was just the paint, disassembly, just to be careful to tape off areas that I didn't want to paint, specifically for this video card, the GTX 1060, the Gigabyte Windforce 6 GB version. I taped off like the logo and underneath the black stripes right there I taped off because I thought they looked pretty cool. But and for the cooler, I was just a lot of taping, basically taping on the front so paint wouldn't get into the fan or on the logo or the LEDs, taping on the back, taping on the wire. But yeah, basically it's just, a little bit of time, a little bit of patience to make sure that you have everything taped off that you need to, because you really, really don't want to paint on electronic devices, obviously. That's not going to be a good thing. But other than that, I'll show you the product again. It's just Krylon. But I'm sure if you used a separate primer, or if you used, I'm pretty sure there's other brands too that have specific plastic paint you could use, but this one worked well enough for my purposes. It's just matte white from a local retailer. I think it ran like $3 and change to do. But I also painted my IO shield in the back there, and I do plan to paint the little PCIe shields too eventually. I just haven't gotten outside to do it yet. But other than that, like I said, it's a pretty straightforward process. Check out my disassembly video of my video card in case you want kind of a general idea of how to take yours apart. But it's pretty easy. It's just a couple screws and some time, and you just have to be careful. So my build, like I said, I'm using Ryzen 1700 because, in my opinion, it's best value right now until we see R5 come out here in the next following, what do we have, 2 weeks now, I believe, April 11th. So my case is the NZXT S340 Elite, because I really like the new tempered trend that's been getting popular as of late. Not everybody likes it, but I really liked it, considering my last build was quite an old case. It was an NZXT also, but it was the Phantom 410. So a little bit about where my build came from as far as what I was using before. So I actually had gotten about 8 years out of my last build. I was using basically the equivalent of an Intel i7 990X. Is a Xeon version though, since Xeons are a little better binned. So I was using LGA 1366 Intel platform, 16 gigs of DDR3. Like I said, in the Phantom 410 case. And I had gotten a lot of use out of it. It was specifically, the chip was a Xeon X5670. It's a 6-core 12-thread, running at stock. It's 2.9 gigahertz, and I think it turbos to something like 3.4, but I had it overclocked to 3.4 with a turbo of 3.8. And I got a lot of years out of it. Like I said, 8 years. I had it for a long time, but it was time to upgrade. Even though I did have a lot of cores, the IPCs, the instructions per clock, just weren't there, and a lot of the modern hardware I had trouble with, or a lot of the modern software, rather. Things like physics and games, it would have trouble processing stuff like that. So I get a lot of frame drops because the CPU became the choke point. But yeah, so we moved up to this one here, right here. So I'm running the R7 1700, like I said. It's stock clocked right now. I haven't messed with overclocking. My motherboard, as you've seen in the other videos, is the AB350 from ASRock. Which seems to be running perfectly fine right now. Still on the 1.5 BIOS. They haven't released anything new that I'm aware of. I've got multiple SSDs, both 840s, 840 Evo and 840 Pro. A couple hard drives in the back there, up underneath the power supply shroud. My graphics card is a Nvidia GTX 1060 from Gigabyte. Like I said, it's the Windforce 6GB version. It's overclocked a little bit. And then I'm just running the stock RGB cooler. And the fans I picked up on Amazon recently, I was kind of hesitant about them because there seemed to be a new brand, but I just didn't feel right spending too much money on fans. I know a lot of people like to get the really nice ones, but these ones are from HBT Plus. Like I said, it's a newer brand. I've never really heard of them, but they seem to be working fine now. They come with, so you can see the little vibration pads there, LEDs that are white, so kind of fit my build. My headset I'm using is the I can't remember the exact model, but it's from Senti. I think it was only about $30, but it has 7.1 surround simulated, obviously, but it does the job. And the other thing I want to talk about in the case is lighting. So if you can see down here is a LED strip, and there's also one up top. And the strip itself is from Amazon also. It's by a brand called Airgoo, which sounds ridiculous, but I haven't had a problem from it yet, and they seem to have pretty decent reviews. But it actually comes with a little remote here, which is cool. It's just a little RF remote, and you install it inside the case connected to a little 4-pin 12-volt. And it comes with converters and everything. These ones are the magnetic strips, by the way, not the adhesive, because I used to have cold cathodes years ago with adhesive, and I really didn't like the way the glue and whatnot started to melt over time. So I thought, hey, it was cool that magnets are a thing now. So, side note, you don't really need to worry about the magnets doing anything to your data. They're not anywhere near as powerful enough to erase anything on a hard drive, especially not an SSD, so it's perfectly safe to use them in your case. So let's take a look at the lighting system here. There's 21 different colors it can do. It only has a few on here as far as like quick choices. And if you have this cooler, it's really cool because you can match the cooler to it or put it to a color that's reflects, like do like yellow with red or something like that for sunburst effect, but something that mimics the whole look that you're trying to get. So there's green. This is supposed to be purple, which it is more purple, I guess, than the other colors, but it is a little blue. This is supposed to be pink, which it is kind of pink. It's showing up pink on the camera, but it is more purple. This is way more purple than the other purple in person. It's kind of a light blue. This is supposed to be yellow, but obviously that's like a lime green. But they do have yellow on here. You just have to go through the colors. And this is red. pretty accurate. So we'll just go through, thumb through all the colors here. Here's a nice yellow. A couple of yellows here. Orange. Bunch of different purples and blues too. Not too many greens or yellows, but even reds there's not very many. There are a lot of blues and purples. Different shades. Kind of a UV looking one right there. And you can also change this to like RGB flashing, where it'll change between, there we go, where it's quickly changing between different colors and whatnot. And you can slow this down. It has speed settings, it has brightness settings, you can change the mode, it has a demo if you want to just run through the demo. But yeah, they run about 17-18 bucks on Amazon, so I think they're totally worth the money. I realize there's other brands too, like specifically from NZXT. There's the Hue. There's also Deep Cool has a pretty cheap one, but none of those are in stock, or they had terrible reviews like the Hue, and this one had decent reviews. But for some reason, something with LEDs in general, their kits seem to be somewhat problematic for just reliability, basically. A lot of them, a good percentage of them arrive DOA, or in the first few days have a problem, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this one will keep working for me. I've only had it in a day, but it seems to be working fine. And I really like it. Adds a lot of flair to your case. Plus you can, on the fly, change up your colors if you want a different look, especially, if you have RGB here with the cooler and whatnot. So a little more about the fans, and then we'll talk a little bit about the RAM that's coming. The fans, like I said, are HBT Plus. They are the Axe. I'm not sure if they have any other lines or whatnot. That's the only lines I could find, but they do come in different colors. They come in red or this kind of gray color, which reflects. Let's go ahead and turn the lights off. There we go. Reflects a lot of the color from the lights, which is nice because it makes them look, purple or red, depending on what lights you have on. They have decent LED lights in there. They're kind of like a smoky gray. I think they look pretty cool. They have fluidic bearings. They seem to have or hit all the check marks for what to look for in a fan. So I have one 120 and three 140s. There's one up top and two in the front in this case. So I'm all maxed out as far as fans. And a couple of them are plugged into the motherboard, and some of them are just plugged into 4-pin because they wouldn't reach. But they do come with what they call a silencer cable, which is just a cable that limits the amount of power going to the fans. So it limits it to 1200 RPMs, I believe, where normally these are capable of 15 to 1600. So it's not that big of a drop, but it would help on sound because you can hear. My case is not extremely quiet now with these fans in it, but I'm not too worried about sound, especially since I wear the headset a lot now instead of speakers. And the last thing, let's move on to RAM. So like I said, I'm running those PNYs right there, two 8GB sticks in dual channel. 2400 CAS 15, but they are overclocked to 2667 using the auto settings like I showed in my BIOS video, to also CAS 15. They were 18, but I just manually put them down and they seem to boot. I tried 2933 without actually overclocking, specifically just the auto profile. Wouldn't post. So I didn't try any harder than that either. But as far as RAM speeds, it doesn't affect your performance a huge amount, but in the article I posted about AMD talking about memory in general, they did post some good results in F1 as far as changing your memory and some other settings and whatnot, which was cool. It's good to see you can squeeze a little more out of your system without heavily overclocking things. But the RAM that's coming is the Avexir brand. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Avexir, Avexir. and they have them right now on Amazon for $39.90 a stick. Now that is a steal because right now 8 gig sticks are running upwards of $50, which is a lot. But kind of goes with the trends of the time, everybody buying and shortages and whatnot. But the cool thing about those is that they're LEDs on top of them. So the Avexir Core series, you can go ahead and look them up. They got a couple of videos on YouTube of what they look like. They're pretty cool. So I wanted to, RGB initially, but the cost of those were a little high, and I found those and thought, hell, I'll just get those since they're going to have white LEDs on them anyway, so that'll look pretty cool. It'll complement my build. Those are also 2400. They sell different speeds of them too, but 2400 was the fastest I could get for the money. And they're also CL15. But they should overclock good. As Gamers Nexus was talking about, overclocking your RAM is more specific to the chip that's inside, like what manufacturer. So those ones are Samsung chips rather than the other brands, and those seem to be the ones that overclock the best. And I believe these PNYs might be too, but don't quote me on that. So anyway, that's my Ryzen build. Like I said, running the 1700 NZXT S340 Elite, which I really like the white look, but might not be for everybody. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about the build or anything other that you'd like me to do a video on, that'd be great. I can see what I can do for you. Like, subscribe, comment below if you have questions, and you guys have a great day and good luck with all your builds.